Welcome into Duval Daily, presented by GenJag.com. I'm Jordan Lugo. Thanks so much for tuning in here on Friday, August 25th. One more sleep before the Jaguars' final preseason game of 2023. Starters for both teams between the Jaguars and the Dolphins are set to play. This will be the first time we have the Jaguars starters actually competing against an opponent's starters in the preseason. In week 1 against the Cowboys, you saw the Jaguars trot their starters out there. The Cowboys did not. In week 2, you didn't see any starters. Preseason week 3 now. Jaguars and Dolphins at the bank, Everbank Stadium, I should say, the new name. Jags and Dolphins will both play their starters, according to both head coaches. So kind of a little mini battle of the minds here between Doug Peterson and Mike McDaniel. I think two of the very smartest head coaches in the game today. At least two of my favorites, right? I think they both think about the game at a very high level, think about leadership at a high level, how to motivate and communicate and teach their players. So I'm excited to see these guys, even if it is just going to be, a half or less for the starters. I think Mike McDaniel said that he plans on playing his starters more than a drive, but less than a half. Doug Peterson said a quarter to 2 quarters for the Jaguars starters. So you will see some starters out there. You will see them going toe-to-toe. I'm excited to get into it. Either way, potential fireworks with the talent on both sides of the ball early in this game. Again, Saturday night kickoff at Everbank Stadium. First game at Everbank Stadium in 2023 for the Jaguars and their fans. Should be a nice crowd out there tomorrow night. Can't wait for it. But getting into the matchups, getting into this game, the game preview, looking at the Jaguars starting offense, what do you want to see? We're going to roll through the offense, the defense, the position battles, special teams as well. I'm really fired up for it. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you enjoy the content here, please like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. You can also check out genjag.com/shop. We've got our Duval 1995 throwback available in black, limited inventory. You can go check that out, genjag.com/shop. Plenty of other fun Duval gear up there as well. But again, getting into the offense for the Jaguars. You're not going to have a full game plan in this one. More than you had in the first 2 weeks, right? But not like a real regular season game. You've done a little bit of prep for this one in terms of your opponent that you're playing against, but it's not as meticulous. It's not as hardcore as it will be in the regular season. The Jaguars, especially on offense, they get after it in the regular season when it comes to game planning. They're trying to find any little details, anything that they can pick at from their opponents, but it's not going to be like that in this game. You will be a little bit prepared for some of the things your opponent is going to be showing you, but not a full game plan. But still, the closest thing you've seen to a full game plan so far this summer leading up to the Jaguars 2023 regular season schedule. Starting offense, hopefully they're able to handle anything that Vic Fangio throws against them. Vic Fangio, it is his first year with the Miami Dolphins, one of the most respected defensive coordinators in the game today. I don't think he's going to go crazy with any of his calls, but very smart DC. I think he's going to know some of Trevor Lawrence's strengths and weaknesses. Maybe you see him throw some things at the wall against the Jaguars and see if they stick. We'll see how it plays out, but I think that the Fangio-style defense is probably one that Trevor Lawrence has struggled with a little bit early on in his career. We'll see if that plays out at all during this preseason game. Probably will not. Hopefully, at least it won't for the Jaguars. Hopefully, you'll see Trevor go out there and have a good one. But for this offense, you want to see them eliminate pre-snap penalties. That's been a little bit of an issue early on in games for both sides of the ball. Eliminate those pre-snap penalties. Those are mental mistakes that are easily avoidable, right? You just have to stay focused and know your job and stay in the moment. You don't want to see any turnovers from the starting offense, right? You saw in the very first drive of the very first game in preseason, Trevor Lawrence, the ball kind of slipped out of his hands as he was rolling left. You saw Calvin Ridley and Evan Ingram down there. He was trying to hit Evan Ingram deep over the top. Ball slipped out. Dallas corner was able to jump it, intercept it on the sideline. So you want to be able to avoid that if you're Trevor Lawrence. If you're the offense as a whole, the starting offense, you just want to avoid turnovers. This is a team that kind of wants to start faster, quite frankly. Not only when you look at the macro season, they want to start off with a better record. You don't want to start off going 3-7 or whatever it was last year. But you also want to start individual games faster. The offense was kind of slow to start games in 2022. You want to get that going in 2023, be a team that can jump on your opponents, and that causes stress for your opponents. That allows your defense to get more aggressive, to go after the passer, to try to force turnovers on the other side of the ball. So I think if you're able to avoid turnovers, that's going to be a big development for the Jaguars offense. I think score at least a touchdown, right? Depending on how long they're out there. If they're out there for a quarter, you want to see at least a touchdown. If they're out there for most of the first half, you probably want to see them get in the end zone at least once, and probably twice, at least put up like 10 points, a touchdown and a field goal, whatever it may be. But you want to see them be able to move the ball. You want to see them be efficient, not beat themselves with turnovers, with pre-snap penalties and the like. I think for Trevor Lawrence, you want to get the ball out quick. You want to handle your business up front with the offensive line, but don't make it too hard on them. Get the ball out quickly. The Dolphins have a great defensive front that's going to challenge your offensive line. I think that being able to get the ball out quickly, which is what the Jaguars do. This offense is predicated around Doug Peterson's play design, getting guys open quickly, and Trevor Lawrence being able to recognize that and fire the ball out really quick. He had the second fastest time to throw, so I don't think that should be an issue in this ball game, but still want to see it. Now, if it's not perfect, it's no time to panic, in my opinion, right? It's still just preseason week 3. You've got an entire regular season to hit your stride, right? You want to hit it quick, but this is not the time to panic at all if things don't go exactly how you want. You do want to see them go out there and have a clean offensive showing, but if they don't, if they do get behind the chains, if they do have a turnover or whatever happens out there, if they face adversity, respond, They did that in Dallas. They were able to, Trevor Lawrence and that starting offense able to go lead a touchdown drive. And so I think if you have some adversity early on, be able to respond to it. I'm hopeful to see some Anton Harrison at right tackle versus Bradley Chubb, Jalen Phillips, two really, really talented pass rushers. I think Jalen Phillips is going to have like a huge breakout this year for the Dolphins. And so I want to see Anton Harrison. He's gone up against some decent opponents so far this preseason, right? He did not play in the preseason week 2 matchup against the Lions, but throughout the 2 days of joint practices, he was going head-to-head with Aiden Hutchinson, and he was holding his own by all accounts. He was looking really good against Aiden Hutchinson. And then in week 1, you saw him go up against Dante Fowler Jr., Sam Williams a bit, two guys that are rotational guys on a very good pass rush for the Dallas Cowboys. But now this is another level up if Anton Harrison does suit up, which we expect to see him. He's been practicing. He has the shoulder injury that he's kind of nursing, but I do expect to see him out there. If he's out there, I want to see him up against Jalen Phillips, Bradley Chubb, and see how he handles those two guys, because both of those guys are at a higher level than a Dante Fowler Jr. or a Sam Williams. And I think that the more you see him go against these high-quality pass rushers and succeed and thrive, the more comfortable you're going to be with him entering year 1 as a starter at right tackle for you. I'm also excited on the other side of the ball to see Cam Smith for the Miami Dolphins if he's available. He does have a shoulder, but he practiced fully on Thursday for the Dolphins, so hopefully you'll be able to see him out there, the cornerback out of South Carolina. He was a guy I was hoping the Jaguars might be in on, whether it be in the first or second round, but they waited till later to address corner. I like what the Jaguars did, landing Anton Harrison and Brenton Strange in the first couple rounds. But now we'll see if Cam Smith can cover any of the Jaguars wide receivers. Again, if Cam Smith is up for this one. The Jaguars have a damn good group of receivers, so it'll be a big test for Cam Smith. Excited to see how that plays out. Obviously not going to see Jalen Ramsey, but the biggest thing, no more injuries, especially for that offensive line. You do not want to see any more injuries for the Jaguars in this one. And that brings me to another point about this contest. Doug Peterson, he is electing to play his starters a quarter to 2 quarters. Is that a good decision? For me, I would probably not want to see them play the whole first half. I'd probably be looking at a quarter or less, quite frankly. You do want to get them out there. You do want to get them acclimated. And injuries can happen at any time. They can happen off the field. They can happen on the practice field. They can happen during a preseason game, regular season game. So I don't think you can be scared, but I think you can also mitigate your risk a little bit by not having them out there too long. But we'll see how it plays out. Doug Peterson, I think, is one of the smartest and best coaches in the league today. So I'm not going to be overly critical of anything he decides to do, quite frankly. But I think it'll be interesting to see how it plays out, with the starters, how long they're playing in this one. Now, looking at the Jaguars' defense, starting defense, you want to create pressure, you want to hit the quarterback. The Dolphins, they do not have a great offensive line. I think you want to see specifically Josh Allen and Trayvon Walker. Everyone focuses on the depth at pass rusher, right? And rightfully so. There's questions with the depth. You've got young guys, you've got unproven guys, you've got guys that have proven they can't get the job done. But let's see these two, Josh Allen and Trayvon Walker, two absolute freaks on the edge, win some reps and kick some ass early on against these Dolphins offensive tackles. I think that's what you want to see from the defense up front for sure. I think you want to gang tackle in pursuit, right? This is a team that the Dolphins, they have a lot of team speed on offense. You need to get there and you need to get multiple guys getting to the tackle point, right? I think that's going to be critical here because, if Tyreek Hill's out there, he can put you in an absolute blender. So multiple guys to the ball on every freaking play, especially when he's touching the ball. Don't get overwhelmed by that speed, though. The Dolphins, they have unbelievable speed. Speed out of the yin-yang on offense. Will it all be out there? Will it all be available? It doesn't really look like it. Devon Achane, don't think he's going to play. But we'll see who is out there. I think Tyreek Hill's fully healthy. So as long as Mike McDaniel is doing exactly what he said he plans to do, I think you should see Tyreek Hill at the very least. They've got speed in the backfield as well outside of Raheem Mostert. So don't be overwhelmed by that speed. Respect it. Know where it is on the field. But don't let it get into your head, especially if you're one of these corners or Devin Lloyd, who has really struggled in coverage during his rookie year, but has really grown into his role as the linebacker, starting next to Foye Oluokun, it looks like, throughout the training camp and preseason for the Jaguars. Don't be overwhelmed. Be ready. Be confident. Go out there and get the job done, and don't give up any coverage busts. Like, it's one thing if you get beat man-to-man, it is what it is, but don't have a mental mistake. Don't have a coverage bust out there against those guys. I think that'll make you have some confidence going into the regular season. And then looking at these position battles, this is really the biggest thing because there's guys out here that it could be their last opportunity for some of them in the league. For some of them, it'll be their last opportunity to earn a roster spot in Jacksonville. So let's get into it. Wide receiver, last chance for Jacob Harris, Tim Jones, Elijah Cooks, and the rest of the crew that's competing for that wide receiver 6 job to go out there and make an impression. And quite frankly, they all have made positive impressions at one time or another. Like, Jacob Harris has made big catches down the field for the Jaguars. He has unbelievable combination of length, speed, and overall athleticism. Like, this is a sub 4.4 40-yard dash guy at his size with his length and a 40-inch vert. I think that his physical ability is unbelievable from an athleticism standpoint. Tim Jones, he's a glue guy, dirty work. He'll get the job done in a lot of different ways for you. Special teams, blocking, he catches what's thrown to him as well. Elijah Cooks, similar size from a length standpoint to a Jacob Harris, but he's thicker, he's stronger, and I think he overall has just a little bit better hands, a little bit more physicality to his game. So I think that there's a lot of guys competing for that one spot. You've also got Jeray Jenkins, obviously, Oliver Martin, a couple other guys out there competing. Seth Williams, too. He's had a good preseason and training camp for the Jaguars. It'll be interesting to see who steps up in their final opportunity here to convince the coaches they deserve a roster spot. Now, looking at the other side of the ball, on defense, I think this is where you have even more position battles, right? At edge, do they keep 5 edge rushers? If not, who doesn't make it? Does Kayvon Chason hold off Yasir Abdullah and Jordan Smith? In my opinion, throughout training camp and preseason, you've seen more from Abdullah, from Jordan Smith than you have from Kayvon Chason. How does that play out? The defensive interior, they need to continue to show that they can operate without Devon Hamilton, and they'll be without Foley Fatukasi as well for this one. I don't know when Devon will be back, right? They said that he could be back in the building next week, but what does that mean exactly? What does back in the building mean for Devon Hamilton's availability for the start of the regular season? I have no idea. We know Roy Robertson Harris can get the job done at a very high level in that starting lineup, but you want to continue to see Jeremiah Ledbetter perform at a high level. This is a guy that was unbelievable last week. He was dominant against the Lions. Can he continue to play at that type of level or close to it? You've got Adam Gotsis, who's a very good role player for you. Deshaun Dixon has shown out a little bit throughout training camp of the preseason. Raymond Vohasek, after the pads have come on, he's started to flash as well, the interior defensive lineman. So I think there's a lot of guys that you want to see perform on the interior for the Jaguars defensive line. At linebacker, how many do you keep? Is Shaquille Quarterman fighting for his job? Caleb Johnson, Ventrell Miller. Ventrell Miller, he was a 4th-round pick by the Jaguars. They wanted to trade up to land him in the 4th round. They were able to get him at their pick. Are they really going to move on from a guy that they valued that highly? He's dealt with some injuries. He had some injuries coming in. We'll see how that plays out. I think upside, Ventrell Miller has got the upside, but if you want somebody who's reliable right now, I think you're looking at Shaquille Quarterman or Caleb Johnson as a backup, as a special teamer. We'll see how it plays out. I'd be kind of shocked if the Jaguars try to put Ventrell Miller on their practice squad, a guy who, again, they valued highly. Top of day 3. Looking at the cornerback position, lots of guys fighting for jobs and roles, right? Gregory Jr., is he your slot 2? Your CB2 in the nickel? I think he is. I think he should be able to push Trey Herndon in certain situations throughout the 2023 season. Christian Braswell missed a lot of camp, but these last 2 preseason games and last couple weeks, he's looked as good as anybody out there at outside corner for the Jaguars. Buster Brown, he's competing with Christian Braswell for that job, for outside corner, maybe outside corner number 3 or number 4 behind Trey Herndon if something was to happen. Eric Hallett, he's made plays throughout. You have Chris Claybrooks, you have Tavon Campbell, you have the Hayes kid out of BYU. You've got a lot of competition for the back end of the roster at corner. You know your top 3, right? Tyson Campbell, Darius Williams, Trey Herndon, they're on the roster. I would say Gregory Jr. has locked himself up a roster spot as well. How many did they keep? Did they keep 5? Did they keep 6? If they keep 5, there's only room for one more player beyond the 4 I just mentioned. And I would personally give the nod right now to Christian Braswell. But Buster Brown is in year 2. He has played better this year. Eric Hallett has some positional versatility, some position flex. Chris Claybrooks has been a really good special teamer throughout his career, and he brings the element of speed like no one else. And Tavon Campbell, the Jaguars have liked what they've seen from him, and he's been able to play some aggressive football and get his hands on the football a few times. So we'll see how that looks. Special teams, answer the bell. Poor kick coverage last week in a big way, in my opinion. Clean it up. Clean that up before the regular season starts. Make sure you don't have any miscues if you're Parker Washington on returns, right? You want to clean that up. You had one last week. And then who shows, at wide receiver, at cornerback, at linebacker, that they're going to show up on special teams. That could matter. Special teams reps in this game could help dictate or determine who the Jaguars keep at one or more of those spots. So we'll see how it goes. That's all, folks, though. Special teams, defense, offense, we've looked at it all. The position battles. Can't wait to see how the Jaguars handle the Dolphins' speed, the team speed that they have on offense, and then just the talent and coaching that they have on the defensive side of the ball. I think this is a great preseason finale test for the Jaguars in this one. And I think that they should be able to handle it fairly well, but we'll see how it goes. I think the Jaguars are going to have some fun out there tomorrow. I think that Trevor Lawrence and this starting offense should be able to get rolling a little bit. I expect them to be able to do that, put some points on the board, have some fun, go into the regular season with some good vibes. Jaguars, they kick off their regular season on September 10th in Indianapolis against Anthony Richardson, Shane Steichen, and those Indianapolis Colts. Cannot wait for it, but one more preseason game here. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. Next time we do this, the game preview, it will count. It will count for a win or a loss in the regular season win-loss column. Can't wait for it. Again, thank you so much for tuning in. Hit me up on Twitter at Jordan DeLugo. You can follow Generation Jaguar at Generation Jag. Please hit that like, subscribe, notification bell here on here on YouTube. And if you want to support the channel further, you can check out genjag.com/shop. Pick up some new Duval gear. Really appreciate y'all. Have a good weekend.